Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Julie Chrisley reacts to new prison sentence. TV personality Julie Chrisley, best known for Chrisley Knows Best, has reacted to her recent resentencing in her fraud case. The case had previously been sent to a lower court, giving Chrisley a chance at a new sentence. Julie and her husband Todd have been the subject of fraud and tax evasion charges since 2019. The case was previously sent to a lower court. Chrisley was resentenced with the judge determining that her 84-month sentence was sufficient. She was shown to be in tears in response to the verdict, apologizing both for what she had done and to her children. Two of Chrisley's children, Savannah and Chase, were at the courtroom during the resentencing. Both Julie and her real estate tycoon husband Todd became known through the reality series Chrisley Knows Best. Airing from 2014 to 2023, the series revolved around their family in Atlanta, before moving to Nashville. Back in June, judges of the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals agreed there was a lack of evidence in the case. According to Us Weekly, court documents claimed that, after careful consideration, and with the benefit of oral argument, we affirm the district court on all issues except for the loss amount attributed to Julie. As it continued, the district court did not identify the evidence it relied on to hold Julie accountable for losses incurred before 2007, and we cannot independently find it in the record. Julie and Todd Chrisley were indicted back in 2019. Thanks to the ruling, the case was sent to a lower court. As the documents continued, so we vacate Julie's sentence and remand solely for the district court to make the factual findings and calculations necessary to determine loss, restitution, and forfeiture as to Julie and to resentence her accordingly. According to Us Weekly, Chrisley's legal team claimed that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed Ms. Chrisley's sentencing and remanded the case for her to be resentenced. Noting it was not a dismissal of the case, it was hoped the decision will result in a new sentence conforming with the appeals court's instructions. Back in 2019, Julie and Todd Chrisley had been indicted on charges including tax evasion and fraud. After being found guilty in 2022, Julie was initially sentenced to 7 years in prison, which was later reduced by 14 months. Todd received a sentence of 12 years, which was later reduced to 10. Since 2023, Julie has served her time at Federal Medical Center in Kentucky. Todd, meanwhile, has served his time at Federal Prison Camp Pensacola in Florida. Julie Chrisley sat in the small, dimly lit room, her hands folded on the cold metal table in front of her. It wasn't the grandeur of her former life, filled with designer clothes, luxurious homes, and the dazzling lights of reality television, but in a way, this room had become her sanctuary, a place where she could finally hear herself think. The verdict had come down like a thunderclap, deafening her world and sending ripples through the carefully constructed facade of her family's life. Another prison sentence, more time behind bars. It seemed surreal, as though the life she had once known was now a distant dream she had woken up from. But there was no escaping this reality, it was hers to face. As she stared blankly at the wall, memories flooded back, images of family dinners, the laughter of her children, the hustle and bustle of their everyday lives. Those moments felt like echoes from another world, a world that felt both close enough to touch yet impossibly far away. "I never thought this would be my life," Julie murmured to herself, her voice barely above a whisper. She closed her eyes, leaning back in the cold, hard chair. Her mind wandered back to the courtroom, where the sentence had been delivered. The judge's voice had been calm, steady, and firm, a voice of authority handing down a decision that would change her life yet again. She had stood there, stone-faced, trying to maintain her composure. It had taken every ounce of strength not to crumble in front of the cameras, the onlookers, the world. Her family, too, had watched in stunned silence. Todd, her husband, had squeezed her hand, but even that touch had felt distant, like a lifeline she couldn't quite reach. They had always been a team, navigating life's challenges together, but this time felt different. There was a new weight on her shoulders, a weight she knew she had to bear on her own. Julie sighed, letting the air slowly escape her lungs. It was a slow process, coming to terms with the reality of prison. The isolation, a loss of freedom, the routine of each day blending into the next. But amidst all that, something had shifted within her. There was a new sense of clarity, an unexpected opportunity to reflect on her life, her choices, and the woman she had become. Prison breaks you down, one of the women she had befriended inside had told her not long ago. But it also has a way of showing you who you really are. Julie hadn't understood what that meant at first. She had entered the system with a defiance that had once fueled her fight. But over time that fire had dimmed, replaced by something quieter, something more profound. She began to see herself more clearly, to question the motivations and decisions that had brought her to this place. And while the questions were painful, the answers were slowly beginning to emerge. She thought of her children, Savannah, Chase, Grayson, and how this new sentence would affect them. They had already endured so much, navigating the fallout of the family's legal battles while under the scrutiny of the public eye. As a mother, the guilt weighed heavily on her, pressing against her chest like a vice. She had always tried to shield them, to provide them with the best life possible. But now, she wondered if her version of the best life had been skewed. Her eyes drifted toward the small window, where the sky outside had turned a soft shade of gray. The day was fading, much like the life she had once known. But in the fading light there was also a sense of renewal, a quiet hope that had begun to stir within her heart. She had always been resilient, a fighter, and now, more than ever, she needed to harness that strength. The whispers of the media still lingered in her mind, stories of her downfall, speculations about her future, judgment from people who had never walked in her shoes. For years Julie had been the picture of perfection, a reality TV star who seemingly had it all. But now, she realized that perfection had been a mirage. It had been a trap, one that she had fallen into willingly, chasing an image that had never truly existed. In prison there were no designer dresses, no flashy parties, no cameras capturing every move. It was a place stripped of all artifice, where she had been forced to confront the raw, unvarnished truth of her life. And while that truth had been difficult to face, it had also been liberating. For the first time in years, Julie felt like she was beginning to understand herself in a way she hadn't before. She had always been known as the strong one, the backbone of the Chrisley family, and now, in the face of another prison sentence, she knew that strength would be tested once again. But this time, it wasn't about putting on a brave face for the cameras or projecting an image of resilience. This time, it was about finding an inner strength that no one could take away. Julie stood up from the table, her fingers tracing the cold surface one last time. She walked toward the window, watching as the clouds slowly drifted across the sky. There was a quiet beauty in the simplicity of the moment, a reminder that life, even in its darkest hours, still had the potential for light. "I'll get through this," she whispered to herself, one day at a time. And as the day faded into night, Julie Chrisley found herself standing on the precipice of something new. A new chapter, a new beginning. One forged not by fame or fortune, but by resilience, reflection, and the quiet determination to rise again. The world had always known Julie Chrisley for her picture-perfect family, glamorous lifestyle, and sharp wit on reality television. She had been the matriarch, the glue that held the Chrisley family together through the ups and downs of public scrutiny and personal tribulations. But in the wake of the new prison sentence, Julie found herself in a situation far removed from the luxury she once knew. Now her world had become a place of reflection, uncertainty, and more than anything, resilience. The courtroom echoes. The sound of the judge's gavel reverberated through the courtroom, signaling the end of another hearing. The room was still, but the weight of the sentence hung heavy in the air. Julie, sitting alongside her husband Todd, barely registered the murmurs of the crowd or the shuffle of the lawyers packing up their briefcases. It felt surreal, like the world had tilted on its axis. She had been stoic in the courtroom, every camera focused on her, every headline waiting to capture her reaction to the increased prison sentence. But Julie had mastered the art of control. Her expression remained neutral, composed, even as she felt the crushing reality sink deeper into her chest. Her heart pounded, her thoughts scattered like autumn leaves caught in a storm.